It was a humid August morning in downtown Jacksonville, Florida. Commuters buzzed around the city center as the sun glared off glass buildings and traffic lights blinked yellow to red across intersections. In the middle of all this motion, a black Cadillac CTS sedan came to a full stop at a red light near Bay Street. Inside was 42-year-old Vanessa Green, smartly dressed in a navy blue suit, heels, and a small pearl necklace. Her brown leather briefcase lay on the passenger seat. She was on her way to the courthouse. Vanessa was the state attorney for the 4th Judicial Circuit of Florida, one of the most influential legal figures in the state. Her job included overseeing hundreds of cases, directing policy on law enforcement conduct, and yes, approving the budgets for police departments, including salaries. She was respected, well-read, and often understated in public. But today, that quiet professionalism would be put to a test she hadn't expected. As she turned onto a side street, she noticed flashing red and blue lights in her rearview mirror. She signaled and pulled over, confused. She hadn't been speeding, hadn't rolled through any signs, hadn't even touched her phone. She lowered her window as 2 officers approached, one on each side. Both were white men in their 30s with tactical vests and mirrored sunglasses. The officer on the driver's side leaned down. License and registration. Vanessa, calm and collected, reached into her glove box and handed it over. "Can I ask why I'm being stopped?" He ignored the question. "Where are you headed in such a hurry?" "No hurry," she replied. "I'm on my way to work." The other officer peeked inside the vehicle. "Bit fancy for a 9 to 5, he muttered, tapping the car door with his flashlight. "Whose car is this?" "It's mine," Vanessa said, evenly. The officer on the driver's side raised an eyebrow. "You got ID to prove that?" "It's registered under my name," she replied, her tone still polite. He walked back to the squad car with her license, but not before saying to his partner, loud enough for her to hear, "We've got another one trying to act like she's somebody." The other officer chuckled. "Always something." Vanessa sat still, staring at the dashboard. She'd heard this tone before. Too many times. The subtle suspicion. The implied disbelief that a black woman could legally own a luxury vehicle, wear a tailored suit, and remain calm in the face of authority. She debated saying who she was, but some part of her, some quiet part that had grown tired of these encounters, decided to wait, to see where it went, to let them walk themselves into their own humiliation. 10 minutes passed. The officers had now run her plates, verified her identity, and were still parked behind her, whispering back and forth. She watched in her rearview mirror as one of them pointed to her registration, then shrugged. Finally, the driver's side officer returned. "So, Vanessa Green," he said, looking at her license again, "says, here you work in the legal field?" "I do." "What exactly do you do?" She looked him straight in the eye. "I'm the state attorney." There was a beat of silence. He blinked. "State attorney?" "Yes," she said, reaching into her bag and handing him her official badge, "which means I'm the one who oversees your department's prosecutorial decisions, including misconduct cases." His face paled slightly. The other officer stepped closer, now peering into the car as if realizing they had just stepped on a landmine. "Ma'am, the driver's side officer stammered. "We didn't mean what?" Vanessa said, her voice firm now. "Didn't mean to mock me for owning a nice car? Didn't mean to assume I didn't belong behind the wheel? Or didn't mean to speak about me as if I couldn't hear? Just following protocol. No, you weren't," she cut in. "You profiled me." The other officer chimed in nervously. "We were just trying to ensure everything was in order." "Everything was in order," she replied sharply. "But you decided that a black woman driving a luxury car must have done something wrong. That's not protocol. That's prejudice." Neither officer spoke. "Let me be clear," she continued. "I'm not interested in yelling. I don't need to make a scene. But what I am going to do is file a report with Internal Affairs. I will also be speaking directly to your precinct captain. Ma'am, we're very sorry. I'm not looking for an apology," she said, rolling up her window. "I'm looking for accountability." Without another word, she signaled, merged back into traffic, and drove off. The 2 officers stood in the heat, watching the car fade into the distance like a ghost they couldn't chase. A ripple through the system. By noon, the story had already started circulating inside the department. Vanessa hadn't made a press statement. She didn't post on social media, but she did submit a full report to Internal Affairs outlining the interaction in careful legal detail. By the end of the day, the Jacksonville Police Department issued an internal memo reminding officers about appropriate traffic stop conduct, but the real consequences came behind closed doors. Vanessa scheduled a meeting with the chief of police, a stern man named Douglas Brantley. He had worked with her on community justice initiatives before, but this was different. "I don't want just an apology," she told him, sitting across from him at his conference table. "I want mandatory training. I want recorded body cam footage, audited for biased behavior. I want measurable consequences for officers who repeatedly show poor judgment." Brantley leaned back. "I'll be honest, they had no idea who you were." "That's the problem," Vanessa said calmly. "Because if they had known who I was, they would have behaved differently, which means they knew what they were doing was wrong. They just thought they could get away with it." Brantley exhaled and nodded slowly. "I'll get you the training initiative, and I'll get the funding approved," she said. "But I want to see real reports, real change, not just a PR stunt." Community echoes in the days that followed. Word of the incident leaked out, not through Vanessa, but through department whispers, then through staffers, then to local media. A short blog post titled "State Attorney Pulled Over, Profiled by Jax PD" went viral in local circles. The story struck a nerve. People in the community, especially Black professionals, began sharing their own experiences of being pulled over, questioned, or treated with suspicion despite doing nothing wrong. The incident became a catalyst for citywide conversations about racial profiling. One night, a town hall meeting was called at a local community center. Vanessa was invited to speak. She hadn't planned to go public, but now it seemed necessary. Standing at the podium, she looked out at a packed room. Young people, elders, activists, officers, reporters. "I didn't come here to shame the police," she began. "I came here because I believe in justice. I believe that accountability is not a punishment, it's a foundation for trust." The room was silent, listening. Racial profiling erodes that trust. It tells an entire community that they are suspect by default, that they are not presumed innocent, but presumed guilty based on the color of their skin, the kind of car they drive, or the clothes they wear. She paused. "I wasn't angry that day because I was mistreated. I was angry because it happens every day to people who aren't the state attorney. And they don't have a badge to pull out. They don't have a platform. That has to change." Applause filled the room. A new standard in the months that followed, Vanessa worked with the police department to launch a new officer accountability program. Traffic stops were reviewed weekly. Officers underwent implicit bias training. Complaints were taken seriously, and transparency was mandated in response protocols. One of the officers from her stop, Officer Lane, personally wrote her a letter. Not just an apology, but a reflection. He acknowledged how he'd grown up in a department where subtle racism was brushed off as instinct. He thanked her for turning the experience into a lesson instead of a lawsuit. Vanessa wrote back. She told him that reform wasn't about punishing individuals, it was about reshaping systems, and that if he truly meant to change, he needed to be a voice for accountability within his own ranks. Full circle 6 months after the stop, Vanessa walked out of a courthouse after winning a case against a high-profile corrupt city contractor. As she reached her car, a young Black girl approached her. "Excuse me," the girl said. "Are you the state attorney?" Vanessa smiled. "Yes, I am." "I read about you," the girl said, "when the police stopped you. My mom said you made them rethink everything." Vanessa knelt down. "And what do you think?" The girl grinned. "I think I want to be like you." Vanessa's eyes softened. "Then promise me you'll never let anyone make you feel small. No matter the uniform, no matter the badge, you belong wherever you choose to be." The girl nodded proudly, and Vanessa stepped into her car, not just a woman of authority, but a symbol of resilience, reform, and representation.